Genesis chapter 1 verses 6 to 8. Then God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." Thus God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so, and God called the firmament heaven. So the evening and the morning were the second day. Thank you for continuing to watch this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and support my channel. This will also help in taking the love of Jesus to this world. On the second day of creation, God made something called the firmament, or a big space, which split the huge amount of water that was there from the start into two parts. The waters above the firmament are thought to be water vapor. Back when the earth was newly made, the weather was a lot nicer than it is now. Scientists have found that places in the far north, which are now frozen, used to have warm, tropical forests. This suggests that the whole earth used to have a really pleasant climate, where it wasn't too hot or too cold, unlike today, where some places can be very hard to live in because of extreme temperatures. God made the firmament. Its function was to separate the water on the ground from the water above in the sky. Nowadays we call it the sky, and understand it as the atmosphere around us and the space beyond where the sun, moon, and stars are. It helps move water from the ground up into the air. Water can turn into vapor, go up into the atmosphere, move anywhere on Earth, and then come back down as mist or rain. God named the sky heaven, just like He named the light on the first day. In the Bible, heaven can mean where God lives or the sky above us. Here it's about the sky we see above the earth, which looks like a big dome covering everything. This heaven doesn't mean the place where God lives, nor does it mean the vast space with all the stars and galaxies. It's talking about the air or atmosphere around the earth. This creating of the atmosphere happened on the second day, which means another day had passed on earth. There's been a lot of talk about the word firmament. In Hebrew, rakia means something like a thin, hammered-out sheet of metal, which is why firmament was used to describe it. Some people think that the ancient Hebrews believed there was a solid layer above the earth because of this term. They say that since there's no such solid layer, the story in the Bible can't be right. But that's not a good argument. The word firmament really just refers to the sky above us, including both the air around our planet and the space beyond it. We can tell what it means from the context in the Bible itself. For example, in Genesis chapter 1 verse 20, it talks about birds flying on the face of the firmament. And also in verse 14, it also mentions the sun and moon being in the firmament. Clearly, the birds aren't flying where the sun and moon are, showing that rakia simply means the sky and space above us, not a solid dome. These verses explain how the air or atmosphere was separated from the solid parts of the earth. The term waters above the firmament suggests there might have been a lot more water vapor higher up in the sky than we have now. This could have made the sunlight spread out more softly across the earth, keeping the temperature more even by holding heat in and stopping it from escaping too quickly into space. The layer of water vapor around the earth spread out the sun's warmth and light, making the winds move and spread this warmth all over in a good way. When a part of the earth faced the sun, it got warm, and water would evaporate. Then, as the earth turned away from the sun, that part would cool down, and dew would form, watering the ground. The Bible mentions in Genesis chapter 2 verse 6 that a mist or vapor rose from the earth and watered the whole surface of the ground. This extra vapor could have spread out the sunlight more evenly and kept the earth's temperature more stable by holding in heat. We know from Genesis chapter 7 verse 11 that everything changed with the flood during Noah's time, when the windows of heaven were opened. After that, earth wasn't the perfect paradise it once was. The oceans were created to keep nations apart and to help control the climate, making Earth a place where humans could live. Most people live near the big oceans because the oceans provide food, help with trade, and make the climate nicer by absorbing heat in the summer and releasing it in the winter, making life better for everyone. The great rivers within the oceans show how amazing and thoughtful the Creator was. Scientists are still trying to fully understand how things like the Gulf Stream can move from the Gulf of Mexico, bringing warmth to places like the British Isles and Norway, or how the Japan Current heats up the west coast of America, or the Humboldt Current brings cooler water to the equator. God naming the sky shows He is in charge of it. Naming it means God has control over space, and space doesn't limit what God can do because He made it and controls it. Just like turning on the lights on the first day, making the sky was finished before the second day ended, with a period of darkness and then light. The air around us is really amazing and carefully made. It not only gives us the oxygen we need to breathe, but also protects us from harmful sunlight. For example, even though there's only a tiny bit of ozone in the air, it's super important because it stops us from getting seriously sunburned in just one day. The air we breathe is a marvel of God's love and wisdom. It is no mere accident that it contains exactly the right ingredients to sustain life in man and animal. No other planet, as far as is known, has a similar atmosphere. This is another proof that man and the earth belong together, being created for each other by the same master designer. All animals need oxygen to live, and fires need it to burn. Even though there's a lot of air covering the earth, you might think we could run out of oxygen, but nature has a wonderful way of balancing things. While humans and animals breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, plants do the opposite. They take in carbon dioxide and give back oxygen. So plants not only give us food but also clean the air and provide us with oxygen to breathe. This is why living in the countryside, where there are lots of plants, is healthier than living in cities with fewer plants. Without oxygen, we couldn't stay warm, move, or even think clearly, and we would quickly die. There's no reason to think that only the air was being worked on during the second day of creation. It's pretty clear that the earth was also changing a lot during the first 2 days of creation, and these changes kept going into the third and even the fourth day. Messing with our atmosphere could have bad consequences that we might not realize until it's too late. However, every day we benefit from its ability to support life and make our world a pleasant place to live. It's important to appreciate and think about the genius behind this perfectly balanced system that keeps us alive and makes our surroundings beautiful. Without our atmosphere, Earth would be lifeless like the moon, very hot where the sun shines and freezing cold everywhere else. Nothing could grow, and no living thing could last very long. It makes you think, shouldn't we be thankful for the atmosphere we have? Also, I would like to add that the air around the Earth is a mix of about 6 million billion tons of oxygen, nitrogen, water vapor, argon, a few other gases, and some dust. Gravity keeps all this stuff close to Earth, and that's what we call air. It's what we breathe and what we see when we look up at the sky. These gases, like oxygen, nitrogen, and argon, are made of really tiny particles called molecules, and they don't have any color except for ozone, which has a slight blue tint. However, ozone hardly affects the sky's color because it's very rare compared to the other gases. Here I would like to discuss why the sky looks blue. The sky looks blue because of something called scattering, which was discovered by 2 English scientists, Tyndall and Rayleigh, over 100 years ago. When sunlight, which has all the colors, hits the tiny particles in the air, some of the light bounces off in different directions. Different colors of light have different wavelengths, and blue light gets bounced around more than the others. Our eyes are especially good at seeing blue light. So, even though the sunlight contains every color, we see the sky as blue because the blue light is scattered everywhere in the sky, and our eyes catch it the best. In reality, the sky doesn't have a color itself, we just see it as blue because of how we perceive the scattered blue light. So why isn't the sky blue when it's cloudy? You might think it's because clouds are white, but why are they white? The blue sky effect we talked about happens only when light hits really tiny particles, smaller than the light's wavelength. The wavelength of visible light is super tiny, way thinner than a sheet of paper, and the particles in the air are even smaller. But when light bounces off bigger particles, like in clouds, all the colors get scattered equally. Since mixing all colors of light together makes white, that's why clouds look white. Clouds have water droplets that are much bigger than the light's wavelength, so they scatter all colors evenly, making the clouds appear white to us. The beautiful colors of the sky that we enjoy every day come from the particles in the air and how our eyes see certain colors better than others. There are a lot of things we don't fully understand, like how a seed knows what plant to become, or how things like electricity, sound, and sight really work. Even though these things can be confusing, we do know that when used properly, they benefit us. This suggests that there's someone kind and powerful who created everything around us to make the world a good place for us to live. In Isaiah chapter 45, verse 18, we read, "For thus saith the Lord that created the heavens, God himself that formed the earth and made it. He has established it. He created it not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. I am the Lord, and there is none else." The more we learn about our world, the more we can see the signs of a caring creator behind everything. Every scene in nature, like a painting, comes from the same great artist. The colors always match perfectly, and no two views are exactly the same. Whether it's the simple sound of a cricket or the powerful roar of a waterfall, nature's sounds are always pleasing. The creator, like a conductor, leads a never-ending and always beautiful symphony of nature without needing any practice. People often fight, struggle, and try to conquer the world with their creativity and leadership. Yet, they forget that it's actually the highest power, God, who controls everything, deciding who gets to lead. The one who made the world with his wisdom and power is also able to take care of those who want to live in peace and harmony with heaven. He's not overwhelmed by the evil in the world, and at the right time will make the earth free from sin and sorrow, turning it back into a paradise like Eden. He plans to fill the earth with people who live in harmony, away from conflict, as part of his eternal family. These people will enjoy life fully, learn from the greatest teacher, and live in a world that was created for them. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and support my channel. This will help in taking the love of Jesus to this world.